So first of all, we would like to thank you and the organization to allow us to participate in this seminar. This opportunity permitted us to review the past literature realized since 2016 by members of Prekariart research projects. This presentation focuses on the methodology employed by artists to underline the precarious condition of art and artists. For that purpose, this talk will lead us to investigate through the relationship between precarity, methodology, art, and artists. It is here important to mention that our goal is not only to describe formal aspects of artwork, as we understand that methodology sets a series of decisions that are way above the final formal results.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, I start. In 2019, I had the chance to visit the exhibition Rembrandt Velázquez at the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, where 60 paintings of Dutch and Spanish masters of the 17th century hang alongside each other in pairs, combining two works from each country. The aim of this comparative analysis was to explore the dialogues that may arise between each pair, the story behind the specific theme that brings the two paintings together. This pair, and particularly the painting of the left by Spanish artist José Antolínez, drew my attention, as I felt it had much to do with the research we conduct at the Prekariart team. I thought it might be connected with the social and economic situation of the artist in the so-called Spanish Golden Age, as I later confirmed. However, as we can appreciate on this rather blurry caption of the word label, Gregor Weber and the head of the Rijksmuseum Fine and Decorative Arts Department and her assistant Celia Torello, who curated the exhibition, decided to relate these paintings to a witty and comical intention from the painters.
As known for all, the bohemian image of artists is a long-time myth. But how is it possible that the entire society changes and that the artist's condition barely does?
The principle of my approach to institutional critique and to art making, which I see as a principle that I found in feminism and I find in psychoanalysis and I find in Pierre Bourdieu's reflexive sociology, is that one can only effectively engage anything in one's own participation in those structures. One can only effectively engage any structures, any relationships, any conditions by engaging them. And that also means as you yourself engage them, which means as you yourself participate in them, so that one can only meaningfully engage anything, critically or not, in terms of one's own relationship to those structures, to that phenomenon. Otherwise, it's just about pointing fingers and becomes really a kind of escapism. So like I can criticize that over there and through that critique, separate myself from it and propose to be free of what I judge negatively about it. And for me, that's a kind of a false maneuver. So I don't see it as a contradiction, I see it as a necessity. And unfortunately, it can be a painful necessity to engage, and it can also be a comic, relationship.
So we agree with Andre Fraser that the artists can make comical comments about their critical social and economic situation within the art system. As we have been seeing before, They have been doing it since the 17th century. However, referring solely to that layer of meaning of an artwork might be rather simplistic. Many artists struggle to survive in this art system.
In the two examples following, we will see how Fraser tries to depict those grounds, both detaching herself from what she criticizes and engaging herself in a rather controversial practice. Firstly, as on the graph shown here, she empirically contrasts the scheme of domination and inequality that the ubiquity of the economic logic in the field of the art provokes, and which correlates with all facets of life and social organization. Her essay, Le 1% c'est moi, is an essay based on social and economic methodologies. In this essay, Fraser brings to light the relationship between the inequality of income worldwide and the booming art market in several countries. With this graph, she aims to demonstrate that the rise of income inequality in the world correlates the increase of the wealth of art collectors. The unbalanced situation of capital has an influence in the art market. The more divergence between the rich and the poor, the higher prices in these markets. In our analysis of this artwork, we found it possible to criticize Fraser's analysis if we have in mind that one well-known key principle in statistical analysis states that correlation does not necessarily imply causality. Notwithstanding the accuracy of her analysis, Fraser focused on the list of the wealthier collectors published on Art News magazine, who, to a great extent, do not precisely outstand for the ethics or legality of their financial operations.
In 1% c'est moi, Fraser allows the pattern of detaching herself from what she criticizes by deploying statistical operation based on objective, empirical, quantitative, social, and economic research. On the other hand, in her performance entitled from 2003, she fully engaged herself in a rather problematic connection between the economic and sexual relation that sometimes regulate identities and social processes within the art market. Mediated by a gallery, Fraser asked to arrange on her behalf a commission with a private collector. The arrangement consisted to realize and record a sexual encounter with a collector in a hotel in exchange of a certain amount of money. It is in fact important to mention that for Fraser, the question is not about if this piece is prostitution or art, but rather if all art trending is not prostitution in a metaphorical sense. She would say, entitled is about the art world, is about the relations between artists and collectors. It's about what it means to be an artist and sell your work. Sell what may be, what should be, a very intimate part of yourself, your desire, your fantasies, and to allow others to use you as a screen for their fantasies.
In a different way, but still engaging the body, Javier Núñez uses the visibility that provides at art fairs to criticize the dependence between art critics and artists, or rather more, the dependence of artists on art critics, which, as in the performance, can be made in 5 minutes. In other words, Núñez Gasco surprised an art critic by handcuffing one of his own hands to the hand of a well-known art critic and imposed, as a condition for his release, to write a critical text during and about a performance that had just begun. The extreme dependence on decisions that may be sometimes capricious or at least frequently little argued comes to the fore in proposals such as "No tienes ninguna posibilidad, you have no chance," from Juan López, whose work consisted in recording with a hidden camera a conversation with a gallery owner, We witness a terrible conversation in which the gallerist tries to impose his conditions on the artist, and to whom, besides, he repeatedly lectures from a position of superiority, with indications about the formalization of his work and the need for it to adapt to an exhibition space. We would like to point out that these performances by Fraser, Núñez, and Lopez are somehow similar as they operate in the boundaries of legality. Therefore, the registration is an even more challenging endeavor than what it usually implies to register any other kind of performance that occurs within the legality.
This desire for action so necessary to the artist to our artists. With excellence and perfection, the artist Amalia Ullmann carries out a transversal critique through social networks of, among other, the role of the artist in the society and women in the art world. For this online performance, she decides to create a fictional narrative through Instagram for 3 months, pretending to have a perfect life for networks. This perfect network life included self-help messages, breast augmentation operation, drama, luxury. This online persona was the first step for a second series of performance called Privilege, where Amalia Ullmann worked on the condition of middle-class worker. In both works, the artist navigates from her own persona in different patterns of domination, using social media as a screen to invent new identities. Patterns of domination are also present in Meryl Leatherman Ukele's work, as Roll introduced this morning. As she was still a student, a teacher advised her that her professional career would end with maternity. And as we said this morning, the artist wrote a manifesto for maintenance art that will deeply mark all her artwork. I am an artist, I am a woman, I am a wife, I am a mother, random order. In this specific artwork, the artist questioned the relation between a specific work to its remuneration and valorization. For that purpose, she focuses her attention on action in museum and particularly on cleaning a specific object, a mummy. It turns out that the mummy is cleaned by conservator, but the display case is cleaned by cleaning employees. Ukeles decide to clean the showcase to transform it into a piece of art of contemporary art, and thus request a re-evaluation of the work for the person who usually cleaned the showcase. Ready-made for justice and equality. I make maintenance art 1 hour every day has also been a way to reverse established situation. As the artist photographed 300 maintenance workers, she asked them to choose how to describe what they were doing, maintenance art or maintenance work. Through art, Ukeles make visible the work of invisible people, these same people who makes reality possible despite working in precarious physical or mental conditions.
Far from the realm of the museum, in the following examples, the artists also appropriate other people's labor. However, the artists here did not give any credit to the labor of the workers they appropriated. This is the case of Francis Alice, who proposed to a street cleaning lady in Mexico DF to draw a line with the dirt she was collecting as an homage to land artist Rachel Long. It is not clear who this lady was, or she got paid for the extra work that Alice added to her own work. Although the people Santiago Sierra commissioned to accomplish these two performances certainly got paid for the labor they did, his intention was to make it clear that through appropriation he would obtain a surplus value that by far exceeded the imagination of the people involved in them. Okay, I need the following slides. Oh, okay. Now we are.
Participation in this could generate $72,000 profit. I am right 5 pounds. Yes. Got it? Yeah. Okay.
In My Double Life by Olga Kiseleva, a video installation made up of several diptychs, she appropriates the lives of individuals who divide their lives into a professional activity performed in order to survive, and their true skills that are unrelated to work. The diptychs show the schizophrenic everyday lives of people swinging between necessity and passion, between a world of work and a domestic world. Their lives provide concrete evidence of the threat of alienation at work because of the obligation to do a job that has not been freely chosen. Nonetheless, these people do manage odd moments of self-expression. For instance, she witnessed the case of a young artist who uses the cash register bills for his own artistic purposes. How does society identify the characters in My Double Life? An artist who does a job or a worker who creates work of art on the side. What value is given to such parallel activities? Olga Kiseleva is upfront in demonstrating how difficult it is to be in such a position, yet also reveals an indomitable creative force.
On the other hand, the artist Nuria Well recalls the precarious condition caused by her own profession.
Hola, bueno, buen dia a tots. Gracias por estar aquí. Empiezo. Mi propuesta para la exposición Arcana Imperi, Investigaciones en Burocracia, consiste en lo siguiente. Destinar el presupuesto de producción al pago de mis cuotas de autónomo para poder cobrar la prestación de baja por maternidad cuando llegue el momento. Empecemos por el título. Afrodita. Si os hablo de maternidad, amor o belleza, algunos de los atributos que acompañan al mito de Afrodita, todos coincidiremos en que son unos atributos dignos de adoración y normalmente atributos clasificados como pertenecientes a la esfera de la feminidad. Bien, no os voy a hablar ahora sobre el papel de la belleza y el amor en nuestra sociedad, pero sí os quiero hablar de la maternidad, de lo que pasa cuando una mujer quiere ser madre, una mujer real, no una diosa ni una virgen, ni el símbolo de la naturaleza, ni de la tierra, ni nada que se le parezca. Una mujer que tiene que ganarse la vida en un medio social que, precisamente por pertenecer al género femenino, la situó en los vagones de segunda o tercera clase. Y lo que pasa es que el cuerpo y la vida de esa mujer no tienen la misma relevancia que la mujer diosa de la maternidad, porque la maternidad y la fertilidad vienen muy bien como símbolos a los que adorar, encajan muy bien en los museos y en los templos, pero no tanto en los cuerpos. Pero ¿qué pasa cuando hablamos de maternidad? Ya no en el ámbito sagrado de la representación artística, sino en el de las industrias culturales. Como fuera del territorio de la representación artística, las mujeres no solo somos símbolo, sino que tenemos cuerpo, ahora os hablaré de lo que hago con mi cuerpo, como la mujer profana que soy.
In both Aphrodita and Annex of Aphrodita, the artist uses methodology that she own calls analytical replication, transforming the time that she will spend with her son into merchandise or capital and demand institution to work in
Eléonore, sorry. Can you speak a little bit louder because we cannot hear you clearly, please?
in
Sorry.
so where should I come back?
Okay, 2 sentences, just.
Okay. In both Aphrodita and in Annex of Aphrodita, the artist used a methodology that she calls analytical replication, transforming the time she will spend with her son into merchandise or capital and demand institution to work in dignified conditions.
This Catalonian artist, Nuria Well, in collaboration with Cuban artist Levi Horta, created the project The Sponsor's Debts. This project involved getting funds from multinational enterprises to organize a call for projects on sustainable and autonomous creative economies. The artists got support from FLAG in Genk and Santa Monica Art Center in Barcelona, whose influence helped the artists to contact the sponsors to get the funds. The chosen project promoted economic autonomy, financial disobedience, self-management, and generalized employment. With this project, the artists channeled funds from the neoliberal multinationals to an anti-capitalist project which, although punctually and paradoxically, altered the norms and logic of the ideas of creativity and entrepreneurship associated with neoliberalism. They unveiled the existing network of influences between the normative spaces of culture and corporations that invest in culture as a marketing policy. This project also evidences a special and paradoxical transformation, the dynamics of patronage by certain corporations through culture as part of their marketing strategies end up sponsoring a partial modification of the status quo. Also in the context, and we finish with this slide, also in the context of the cultural and creative industries, in 2013, Nicholas Roy, in collaboration with Kati Ipa, installed this ingenious artifact as a commission for the Katowice Street Art Festival in Poland. This miniaturized reenactment of the whole functioning of the art market may be considered a contemporary art form that critiques the art system, as it exists outside its realm and follows the logic that everyone can become an artist. However, as it consists of a representation, it remains in a state of ambiguity, which makes us suspect of being just an attempt to reproduce a pre-existing system, although in a different context. This decontextualization is manifestly satisfactory since it allows to reveal some of the actual conditions of the art system. However, by representing itself as a device that does not present, nor does it seem to foresee any tools for elaborating possible criticisms, any discrepancy can be easily veiled once again and even reabsorbed in a commission of connivance. We shall conclude with the same image that we began in our presentation. Officially presented at Studio Scene, this painting is also known as the art merchant or the poor artist.
We think that Antolina's pieces englobe most of the notion that we have been expressing so far in relation to precarity and artistic methodology. The embodiment or humoristic comments about artists on their own precarious states, the detachment of the artist adapting an objective point of view on the subject matter, and at the same time the fully personal engagement that can sometimes lead to the creation of an alter ego, appropriation, and the ubiquitous logic of monetary transaction, reenactment of the logic from a critical point of view, and the involvement of all the agents of the art system, collectors, gallerists, museum artists, and the public.
Okay, finally, we want to thank you for your attention